The morning sun cast long shadows across the sprawling campus of the United Nations Galactic Relations Center in Geneva. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked briskly through the marble hallways, her heels clicking against the polished floor. She carried a tablet filled with reports from Earth's newest allies, the Galactic Confederation. After 18 months of careful negotiations, humanity was finally being welcomed into the vast community of peaceful species that spanned the galaxy. The Confederation had been patient with Earth's integration process. They understood that humans were young and eager, perhaps too eager at times. The various species had watched with interest as Earth's representatives learned diplomatic protocols and trade agreements. Some found human enthusiasm charming, while others worried about their rapid technological advancement. In the observation deck overlooking Earth's orbital defense platforms, Captain Marcus Reed monitored the usual traffic of Confederation ships. The massive space stations that protected Earth's atmosphere hummed quietly, their energy shields barely visible against the black void of space. These defenses had been built according to Confederation standards, designed to stop asteroids and space debris, not military attacks. Another peaceful day, Reed muttered to his second-in-command Lieutenant Torres. The younger officer nodded, reviewing the morning reports. 3 Confederation science vessels were conducting routine scans of Earth's moon, while a diplomatic transport prepared to depart for the Centauri system. Neither Reed nor Torres noticed the dark shapes moving beyond Jupiter's orbit. The Zalathi Empire had been watching Earth for months, studying human defenses and cataloging their weaknesses. The Confederation had made a mistake by sharing Earth's defensive capabilities during the integration process. That information had somehow found its way to Zalathi intelligence networks. Admiral Vextar of the Zalathi fleet studied the holographic display of Earth's solar system. His species had dominated 12 star systems through swift, brutal attacks that broke enemy morale before any real resistance could form. Most civilizations surrendered after seeing their major cities destroyed. The humans would be no different. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his tactical officer announced. The Zalathi fleet consisted of 47 heavy cruisers, each armed with planet-cracking weapons. They had used similar forces to conquer the crystal cities of Andros Prime and the floating metropolises of Kepler 442b. "Begin the attack," Vextar commanded. "Target their major population centers. Make it quick and decisive." The first wave of energy beams struck London at exactly 14:32 Greenwich Mean Time. The ancient city, home to 8 million souls, vanished in a brilliant flash of white light. The Thames boiled away in seconds, leaving only a massive crater where centuries of human history had once stood. In New York, morning commuters looked up from their coffee to see strange lights appearing in the sky. The Zalathi bombardment lasted only 90 seconds, but it was enough to reduce Manhattan to glass and ash. The Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, and the dreams of millions disappeared in an instant. Tokyo fell next, then Mumbai, then Berlin. Within 4 hours, 7 of Earth's greatest cities were gone. The Zalathi fleet maintained their positions in high orbit, waiting for the inevitable surrender transmission. Their sensors detected the massive electromagnetic pulses from Earth's communication networks as governments scrambled to contact each other. "Surely they will submit now," the tactical officer suggested. "We have demonstrated our superior firepower." Admiral Vextar studied the readings from Earth's surface. Strange patterns were emerging in the communication signals. Instead of surrender negotiations, he was seeing something unexpected. Military bases worldwide were coming online. Production facilities were shifting to war footing. Transportation networks were reorganizing to move resources and personnel. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from Earth," the communications officer reported. The message was simple and broadcast on all frequencies. President Morrison of the United Earth Coalition appeared on the screen, her face streaked with tears but her voice steady as steel. "To the aliens who attacked our world today, you have killed our children, destroyed our cities, and brought war to our home. You expect us to surrender. You expect us to beg for mercy. You clearly do not understand what you have done." She paused, and behind her, Vextar could see the ruins of Washington, D.C. still smoking in the distance. "You have not broken humanity. You have awakened it. Every man, woman, and child on this planet now knows your name, Zalathi. We will remember this day. We will remember our dead, and we will come for you." The transmission ended. Vextar stared at the blank screen, confused by the human response. In his experience, devastated species either surrendered immediately or collapsed into chaos. He had never encountered a civilization that responded to massive casualties by declaring war. "Admiral, should we prepare for orbital bombardment of their remaining cities?" the tactical officer asked. Vextar hesitated. Something about the human transmission bothered him. There had been no pleading, no offers of tribute, no requests for terms, only a promise of retaliation from a species that had just lost millions of its people. "Maintain position," he ordered. "Monitor their communications. Prepare for any response." Down on Earth's surface, the response was already beginning. In underground bunkers and fortified command centers, humanity's leaders were making decisions that would reshape the galaxy. The attack had united Earth in a way that centuries of diplomacy had failed to achieve. Ancient enemies put aside their differences. Competing nations opened their borders to refugees and shared their most advanced technologies. Dr. Elizabeth Hawking, one of Earth's leading physicists, stood before an emergency session of the Global Science Council. Around her sat the brightest minds from every field of human knowledge. "They made one critical error," she announced to the assembled scientists and engineers. "They left us alive. They destroyed our cities, but not our knowledge, not our spirit, and certainly not our ability to learn." She activated a holographic display showing wreckage from a Zalathi fighter that had crashed during the attack. The alien technology was already being analyzed in laboratories across the globe. "We have 18 months of peaceful contact with the Confederation. We know their technology, their weapons, their ships, but the Zalathi don't know ours. They expect us to fight like every other species they've conquered." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. "They're going to learn that humans don't fight like anyone else." Dr. Hawking continued. "When someone attacks our home, when they kill our families, we don't just fight back. We fight to win, no matter what it costs." Within hours of the attack, Earth's transformation had begun. The same creativity that had produced art, music, and literature was now focused on instruments of war. The same industrial capacity that had built cities and monuments was retooling to build weapons. The same scientific minds that had unlocked the secrets of the universe were now applying that knowledge to the art of destruction. The Zalathi had expected to find a broken species begging for mercy. Instead, they had awakened something that would soon make them regret ever learning the name of the third planet from Sol. In the ruins of London, a young engineer named David Harper pulled bodies from the rubble. His family was gone, his home destroyed, but his hands were steady as he worked. Each life he couldn't save strengthened his resolve. Each fallen friend became fuel for the fire growing in his heart. "They wanted to show us their strength," he whispered to himself as he cleared debris from a collapsed school. "We'll show them ours." The war for humanity's survival had begun, but the Zalathi Empire didn't yet understand what they had started. They had attacked Earth expecting to find another weak species to add to their empire. Instead, they had declared war on a civilization that viewed the protection of home and family as sacred duties worth any sacrifice. As night fell over the devastated planet, millions of humans looked up at the stars and made the same silent promise. The Zalathi had brought death to Earth's doorstep. Soon, Earth's children would return the favor. Admiral Vextar continued to monitor Earth's communications, growing more concerned with each passing hour. The human response was unlike anything in Zalathi military history. They weren't panicking. They weren't fleeing. They were preparing, and in the depths of space, hidden monitoring stations belonging to the Galactic Confederation recorded everything. Their operators watching with growing amazement as humanity revealed what they truly were when pushed too far. The galaxy was about to learn a new word: retaliation. 6 months after the attack, Earth looked nothing like the peaceful world the Zalathi had bombarded. The massive craters where London, New York, and Tokyo once stood had become symbols of human determination rather than defeat. Memorial walls surrounded each site, listing the names of every person lost in the attack. But these were not monuments to despair. They were reminders of debt that demanded payment. President Morrison stood before the largest gathering in human history. Representatives from every nation, every city, every village had come to Geneva. The Zalathi bombardment had shattered the old world order, but from its ashes rose something unprecedented, a truly united humanity. "We gather not as Americans, Chinese, Europeans, or Africans," Morrison announced to the assembly. We gather as the children of Earth and our home has been attacked. Today we declare our response. The vote was unanimous. Every nation on Earth formally declared war on the Zalathi Empire. More importantly, they committed their entire industrial and intellectual capacity to that war. Treaties that had taken decades to negotiate were signed in hours. Trade barriers dissolved overnight. Military secrets that nations had guarded for generations were shared freely. Dr. Elena Vasquez, former head of CERN, now directed the Global Defense Research Initiative from a bunker complex built beneath the Swiss Alps. Around her, the greatest minds of humanity worked with singular focus. The same scientists who had discovered the Higgs boson were now applying quantum mechanics to weapon design. The engineers who had built the International Space Station were designing ships meant for war. "Show me the latest propulsion tests," Dr. Vasquez requested from her assistant. The holographic display revealed test footage from a remote facility in Australia. A sleek human spacecraft accelerated to 0.7 light speed in under 30 seconds, using technology reverse-engineered from captured Zalathi debris. "How does it compare to Confederation ships?" she asked. 20% faster acceleration, 30% better fuel efficiency," came the reply. "But that's not the impressive part. Watch the combat maneuvers." The test ship twisted through space in patterns that defied conventional physics. Human engineers had studied every piece of alien technology they could find, then improved upon it using principles the Galactic Confederation considered impossible. Where alien species focused on single solutions, humans combined multiple approaches in ways that created entirely new capabilities. In the industrial centers of Germany, China, and the American Midwest, factories that once produced cars and consumer goods now churned out warships. But these weren't copies of Confederation designs. They were uniquely human creations, born from a species that had spent its entire history turning tools into weapons when survival demanded it. Master Chief Jennifer Brooks toured the latest production facility in Detroit. The assembly line stretched for miles underground, protected from orbital bombardment by layers of reinforced concrete and energy shields. Every 18 hours, another frigate rolled off the production line ready for combat. "How many ships can we build per month?" Brooks asked the facility commander. "Current capacity is 120 ships monthly," he replied, "but we're expanding. The new facilities in Brazil and South Africa will double that number by year's end." Brooks nodded, studying the sleek warships being fitted with weapons that made Confederation admirals nervous. Human military doctrine had always emphasized adaptability and overwhelming force. Those principles were now being applied to galactic warfare. In the orbital shipyards above Earth, Admiral Chen watched the construction of humanity's first dreadnought. The massive vessel dwarfed anything in the Confederation fleet, its armor plating forged from materials that didn't exist 6 months ago. Human metallurgists had discovered new alloys by combining Earth elements with alien metals recovered from the attack. "Admiral, the weapons tests are complete," reported Commander Singh from the bridge of the prototype vessel. "All systems are operating beyond specifications. The dreadnought's main guns could punch through Zalathi shields like they were paper. Its defensive systems had been designed by studying every weakness the aliens had revealed during their attack. But most importantly, it was fast enough to catch fleeing enemies and strong enough to destroy anything that stood and fought." "How many of these can we build?" Chen asked. "The current projection is 1 dreadnought every 2 months, Singh replied. "But the design teams are already working on improved versions. Each new ship will be more advanced than the last." This was humanity's greatest advantage. While the Zalathi Empire relied on proven designs that had conquered dozens of worlds, humans constantly innovated. Every battle, every test, every failure taught them something new. They adapted and improved at a rate that amazed even their Confederation allies. Dr. Marcus Webb stood in the underground complex where Earth's most classified research took place. His team had been tasked with humanity's most ambitious project, weapons capable of ending the war in a single strike. The same fusion technology that powered peaceful cities could be weaponized in ways that would make stars themselves tremble. "The calculations are complete," announced Dr. Sarah Kim, his lead physicist. "We can build it. The question is whether we should." Webb studied the projections on his screen. The weapon they had designed could sterilize entire star systems, turning living worlds into lifeless rocks. It violated every treaty the Confederation had ever signed and challenged the moral principles that had guided human civilization for centuries. The Zalathi chose to make This a war of extinction when they targeted our civilians, Webb said quietly. We're not starting this fire. We're just making sure we can finish it if we have to. The research continued. Humanity would build weapons that could end worlds. Not because they wanted to use them, but because the Zalathi had proven that mercy was weakness in their eyes. Earth's children would never again be caught defenseless. In training facilities across the globe, millions of humans prepared for war. The same physical fitness that had produced Olympic athletes now created soldiers capable of fighting in any environment. The same competitive spirit that drove sports and games was channeled into military excellence. Captain Lisa Rodriguez emerged from the zero-gravity combat simulator, sweat beading on her forehead. Around her, other trainees practiced fighting in the vacuum of space, learning to use alien weapons and equipment recovered from the Zalathi attack. Your time improved by 8 seconds, noted Sergeant Williams, reviewing her performance data. But you're still thinking like someone fighting on Earth. In space, there is no up or down, no ground to take or hold. You have to think in 3 dimensions. Rodriguez nodded, already planning her next attempt. Human military training had always emphasized learning from failure and constant improvement. Those lessons were now being applied to warfare among the stars. The Psychological Warfare Division worked from a secure facility in Switzerland, studying Zalathi culture and communication patterns. Dr. James Patterson, formerly a professor of anthropology, now analyzed alien psychology to find weaknesses that could be exploited. Their society is based on dominance through fear, Patterson explained to his team. They expect conquered species to submit when faced with superior force. They have no framework for understanding an enemy that becomes stronger after being attacked. His psychological profile of Zalathi leadership would prove crucial in the coming conflict. Humans understood that war was fought as much in the mind as on the battlefield. They would use that knowledge to turn the aliens' own nature against them. In orbit around Mars, the first human battle fleet assembled for training exercises. 50 ships, ranging from small fighters to massive cruisers, practiced the combat formations that would soon carry Earth's vengeance to alien worlds. The crews were volunteers, every one of them having lost family or friends in the attack. Admiral Torres commanded the fleet from the bridge of the heavy cruiser, Remembrance. The ship's name, like those of all human warships, honored the memory of those lost in the bombardment. Each vessel carried the names of the dead into battle, ensuring that the fallen would witness humanity's response. All ships report ready for exercise Alpha 7, announced the communications officer. Begin the exercise, Torres ordered. Show me what Earth's children can do. The fleet moved through space with precision that impressed even Confederation observers. Human ships fought with a combination of brutal efficiency and innovative tactics that made alien military experts reconsider everything. They thought they knew about space combat. As the first year after the attack drew to a close, humanity had transformed from a peaceful species seeking integration into the galactic community to a military power that made ancient empires nervous. The Confederation watched with growing amazement as Earth's factories produced ships faster than any civilization in recorded history, but the most significant change was in humanity itself. The attack had burned away the last traces of the old divisions between nations and peoples. In their place stood something new, a species united by shared loss and common purpose. The Zalathi had expected their surprise attack to break human civilization. Instead, they had forged it into something harder and sharper than anything the galaxy had seen before. Earth's children were coming, and they carried the fury of a wounded world in their hearts. In the ruins of the bombarded cities, 18 months after the attack on Earth, the first human warship emerged from the solar system's edge and engaged its faster-than-light drive. The vessel, named Tokyo's Vengeance, was sleek and deadly, bristling with weapons that existed only in theory before the Zalathi had made their fatal mistake. Captain David Harper stood on the bridge, his hands steady as he gave the order that would change galactic history forever. Take us to our first target, the Zalathi outpost at Kepler 442c. The ship's AI, programmed with the memories of every human lost in the bombardment, spoke in a calm voice that carried the weight of 7 million graves. Course plotted. Estimated time to target, 43 hours. Estimated time to complete mission, 17 minutes. Harper smiled grimly. Human military doctrine had always favored quick, decisive strikes. Now those tactics would be applied to enemies who had never faced an opponent that improved with every battle. The Zalathi outpost at Kepler 442c was a military supply depot, home to 3,000 alien soldiers and workers. Admiral Vextar had placed it there to support future expansion into human space, never imagining that Earth's children would reach it first. Station Commander Klextar reviewed routine reports in his command center, confident in the superiority of Zalathi technology and tactics. The humans had gone silent after the attack, which was normal behavior for defeated species. In his experience, conquered civilizations took years to recover from major bombardments. "Commander, we have an unknown contact approaching the system," reported the sensor operator. Klextar studied the display with mild interest. The approaching ship was small, probably a Confederation vessel conducting scientific surveys. "Hail them and request identification." The response came not in words but in action. The human ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system and immediately opened fire. The first salvo of missiles covered the distance to the outpost in 90 seconds, moving faster than anything in the Zalathi database. "Shields up. Return fire," Klextar shouted, but it was already too late. Human weapons had been designed by studying every piece of alien technology recovered from the Earth attack. The missiles tore through Zalathi shields like they were made of paper, their warheads detonating with the fury of compressed stars. The outpost's defensive systems, designed to stop conventional attacks, simply vaporized under the assault. Tokyo's vengeance closed to weapon range and unleashed its main guns. Energy beams refined from Confederation technology but powered by human innovation, carved through the station's hull like a sword through silk. In 17 minutes, the outpost was reduced to floating debris. Captain Harper opened a communication channel to the dying station. "This is Captain Harper of the Earth Defense Force. You attacked our home. You killed our families. This is payment for Tokyo. There will be more." The transmission ended, and Tokyo's vengeance disappeared back into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind only wreckage and the bodies of 3,000 Zalathi soldiers. The attack sent shockwaves through the Zalathi Empire. In the capital system of Vexenor Prime, Admiral Vextar studied the reports with growing concern. The human ship had appeared without warning, destroyed a fortified outpost in minutes, and vanished before reinforcements could respond. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his intelligence staff. "The humans were a peaceful species 18 months ago. They had no military fleet, no advanced weapons." His chief analyst, a nervous Zalathi named Rixtal, shuffled through data tablets. "Sir, our observers report massive industrial expansion on Earth. They appear to have converted their entire civilization to military production. But their rate of advancement is impossible. No species develops this quickly," Vextar growled, a sound that made his subordinates step back in fear. "They're using captured technology from our attack. They've reverse-engineered our weapons and improved them." The implications were terrifying. If humans could advance this rapidly, they wouldn't stay peaceful victims for long. 3 days later, the second attack came. This time it was the outpost at Wolf 359, struck by a ship called London's Fury. The pattern was the same: overwhelming firepower, precision targeting, complete destruction. But this attack revealed something even more disturbing. The human ship had evacuated the station's civilian population before beginning its bombardment. Transport pods carrying Zalathi workers and their families were found drifting safely in space. Equipped with basic life support and communication equipment, they saved our civilians while killing our soldiers, reported Subcommander Zektal from the rescue ships. Their attack was surgical, designed to minimize non-combatant casualties while maximizing military damage. This confused the Zalathi leadership. In their experience, civilizations seeking revenge usually targeted civilians to break enemy morale. The humans were fighting with ruthless efficiency, but they followed rules of engagement that showed respect for innocent life. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the attacks from her command center beneath the Swiss Alps. Around her, tactical displays showed the positions of human ships throughout Zalathi space. Each vessel carried the name of a destroyed Earth city and the fury of its dead citizens. "Status. Report on Fleet Group Alpha," she requested from her communications officer. "Berlin's Wrath and Mumbai's Vengeance have successfully engaged. Targets in the Tau Ceti system," came the reply. "Enemy installations destroyed with minimal collateral damage." Both ships are proceeding to their next objectives. Vasquez nodded with satisfaction. The human fleet was operating exactly as planned. Each ship struck like lightning, destroying military targets while carefully avoiding harm to civilians. This surgical precision served multiple purposes. It demonstrated human military superiority, while showing the galaxy that Earth's children could wage war with honor. In the Galactic Confederation Assembly on Centauri Prime, representatives from hundreds of species watched the human campaign with amazement. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the council, her formal diplomatic robes replaced by the simple black uniform of Earth's mourning period. The Zalathi Empire chose to attack civilian targets on our homeworld, she announced to the assembled delegates. They killed 7 million innocent people in an unprovoked assault. Humanity's response has been measured and proportional. We target only military installations and personnel directly involved in the attack on Earth. The Confederation delegates murmured among themselves. Most had expected the humans to either surrender quickly or descend into vengeful savagery. Instead, they were conducting a military campaign that was both devastating and morally restrained. Ambassador Telvani of the Christek Republic raised a crystalline appendage. With respect, Ambassador Chen, your forces are advancing into Zalathi space at an unprecedented rate. Some of our members are concerned about human intentions beyond revenge. Chen's response was calm, but carried the weight of 7 million graves. Our intentions are simple, Ambassador. The Zalathi will learn that attacking Earth was the greatest mistake in their species' history. When they no longer pose a threat to human worlds, our advance will stop. Back in Zalathi space, Admiral Vextar faced a crisis unlike any in his military career. Human ships were appearing throughout his empire, striking at will and vanishing before his forces could respond. Each attack was perfectly planned and brutally executed, targeting the most strategic installations with surgical precision. Sir, we've lost 17 outposts in the past week, reported his tactical officer. Our defensive formations can't track their ships. They're faster than anything in our fleet. Vextar studied the holographic display of his shrinking empire. Red markers showed destroyed installations, while blue dots represented human ships moving through space like predators hunting prey. How many ships do they have? Intelligence estimates at least 300 combat vessels, with more being deployed weekly, came the reply. Their construction rate exceeds anything in recorded galactic history. The truth was even more impressive. Human shipyards had achieved production levels that amazed even their builders. The same industrial capacity that had once produced millions of vehicles annually was now creating warships with the efficiency of an assembly. Line. Captain Jennifer Martinez commanded New York's in fury as it approached another Zalathi military installation. The asteroid-based weapons depot contained enough firepower to destroy a dozen Earth-like worlds, but its defenses had been designed to stop conventional attacks. All stations report ready, announced her weapons officer. Targeting computers have confirmed minimal civilian presence. Proceeding with Attack Plan Delta 7. The human assault was a masterpiece of military precision. Missiles launched from extreme range, guided by AI systems that could adapt to enemy countermeasures in real time. Energy weapons powered by fusion reactors that burned hotter than most stars, carved through alien armor like it was made of ice. In 18 minutes, the depot was gone. Its weapons stockpiles detonated in a chain reaction that lit up the star system like a second sun. New York's fury was already entering faster than light travel before the explosion reached its peak. The psychological impact on the Zalathi Empire was devastating. For centuries, 2 years after the bombardment of Earth, the Zalathi Empire faced complete collapse. Admiral Vextar stood in his command center on Vexnor Prime, watching red warning lights flash across tactical displays that showed human fleets advancing toward the heart of Zalathi space. In 18 months of war, the humans had destroyed 70% of his empire's military infrastructure without losing a single ship. Sir, the outer rim defense grid has fallen, reported his communications officer, her voice trembling with barely controlled panic. Human forces have broken through at 6 different points. They're converging on the core systems. Vextar closed his eyes, feeling the weight of his species' greatest mistake. The humans hadn't just come for revenge. They had come to ensure that the Zalathi Empire would never again threaten Earth or any other world. On the bridge of the dreadnought Earth's Memory, Admiral Chen reviewed the final phase of Operation Homecoming. Around her, The largest human fleet ever assembled prepared for the assault on Vexner Prime itself. 500 ships ranging from nimble destroyers to massive siege platforms moved through space with the precision of a surgical instrument. "All fleet commanders report ready," announced Captain Torres from her position at the tactical station. "Confederation observers have confirmed minimal civilian presence in the target zones." Chen nodded. Even in their moment of ultimate victory, humanity maintained the moral standards that had impressed the galaxy. The assault would target only military installations and government facilities directly responsible for the attack on Earth. "Open a channel to all ships," Chen ordered. "This is Admiral Chen to all Earth Defense Force vessels. Today we reach the homeworld of those who attacked our families. Remember London. Remember New York. Remember Tokyo. But also remember who we are. We are the children of Earth and we fight with honor." The response came from 500 ships and 500,000 human souls. We remember. On Vexner Prime, Emperor Thraktal convened his final war council in a bunker deep beneath the Imperial Palace. The assembled Zalathi leaders represented the survivors of a military hierarchy that had once dominated 12 star systems. Now they faced extinction at the hands of a species they had dismissed as weak prey. "My lord, we must consider surrender," urged General Crixtal, commander of the Home Defense Forces. "The humans have demonstrated that continued resistance will only lead to our destruction." The Emperor's rage filled the chamber, but it was the rage of desperation rather than strength. "Surrender to those animals? Never. Contact the Drakhari clans, the Vectol raiders, anyone who will stand with us against these humans." Admiral Vextar spoke quietly from his position at the table. "My lord, I've already tried. The Drakhari refused to fight an enemy that destroyed our entire outer fleet without losses. The Vectol raiders have gone into hiding. No one wants to face the humans in battle." The truth was even worse than Vextar admitted. Throughout the galaxy, species that had once feared Zalathi power were now studying human tactics and technology. Earth's methodical dismantling of the Zalathi Empire had demonstrated a new standard of military excellence that made old alliances meaningless. Dr. Marcus Webb monitored the approaching battle from his research facility on Mars. Around him, the scientists who had developed humanity's most terrible weapons watched as their creations prepared to end the threat that had started this war. "Status on the Planet Killer deployment?" Webb asked his assistant. "All 7 devices are in position around Vexner Prime," came the reply. "They can be activated on your command, Doctor." Webb studied the displays showing the massive weapons hidden in asteroid fields throughout the Zalathi home system. Each device could sterilize a continent, turning a living world into a lifeless rock. But humanity hoped they would never need to be used. "Keep them on standby," Webb ordered. "The Admiral wants to give them one final chance to surrender." This was humanity's greatest demonstration of strength. They had built weapons capable of ending worlds, but they hoped never to use them. The Zalathi had attacked Earth civilians, but humans still offered mercy to their enemies' innocent people. The battle for Vexnor Prime began with a transmission from Admiral Chen to the planet's surface. Her image appeared on every communication screen across the Zalathi homeworld. Speaking in perfect Zalathi dialect that human linguists had mastered during the war, "People of Vexnor Prime, I am Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Your leaders attacked our homeworld without provocation, killing 7 million innocent people. Today we have come to ensure they can never do so again." She paused, allowing her words to reach every corner of the planet. "We do not seek the destruction of your species or your world. We offer terms. Surrender your military leadership for trial, dismantle your weapons of mass destruction, and accept Confederation oversight of your future military development. Refuse, and we will take what we came for by force." Emperor Thraktal's response was broadcast across the system minutes later. "We are Zalathi. We do not bow to inferior species. Come and die, humans." Admiral Chen sighed sadly. She had hoped the Zalathi would choose wisdom over pride. "All ships commence Operation Judgment. Protect civilian areas. Target only military installations." The human fleet moved with the precision of a clock mechanism. Destroyers eliminated the orbital defense platforms in the first 10 minutes. Cruisers systematically destroyed the surface-to-space missile sites. The massive dreadnoughts used their main guns to carve surgical holes in the planet's military command centers. But the most impressive display came from the newest class of human warships, the siege platforms. These massive vessels deployed weapons that could reach through planetary shields, and destroyed targets with surgical precision. Imperial bunkers that had taken decades to build were reduced to dust in seconds. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the battle from her command center on Earth. Around her, tactical displays showed the systematic destruction of Zalathi military power. Each target was carefully selected to minimize civilian casualties while maximizing the psychological impact on enemy leadership. "Planetary shields are down," reported the communications officer. "All primary military targets have been neutralized. The Emperor's bunker is isolated but intact." Vasquez nodded with satisfaction. The assault had proceeded exactly as planned. Zalathi military resistance had collapsed within hours, but their civilian population remained largely unharmed. "Signal Admiral Chen. She has permission to begin the final phase." On Vexnor Prime, Emperor Thraktal watched his empire die from the depths of his reinforced bunker. The humans had systematically destroyed every military installation on his homeworld, while leaving cities and civilian areas untouched. It was a demonstration of power and precision that exceeded his worst nightmares. "My lord, human forces have surrounded the palace," reported General Krixtal. "They're demanding your personal surrender." The Emperor's final act of defiance was to activate his species' most terrible weapon, a biological plague designed to kill any non-Zalathi life form. The virus was released into the planet's atmosphere, where it immediately began spreading toward human landing forces. Admiral Chen received the biological attack warning 30 seconds after the plague's release. Her response was swift and decisive. "All ships implement Biohazard Protocol 7. Deploy atmospheric cleansers immediately." Human ships released clouds of nanoscopic machines that swept through Vexnor Prime's atmosphere like a cleansing wind. The biological weapon was neutralized within minutes, its deadly molecules broken down into harmless components. The Zalathi had unleashed their ultimate weapon, only to watch it rendered useless by human technology they couldn't understand. "Signal the Emperor," Chen ordered. "Inform him that we detected and neutralized his biological weapon. Ask him if he has any other surprises, or if he's ready to discuss surrender." The psychological impact was devastating. The Zalathi leadership realized they were facing an enemy that could counter their most advanced weapons with casual efficiency. Human technology had advanced beyond their ability to threaten or resist. In his bunker, Emperor Thraktal finally understood what his species had awakened when they attacked Earth. The humans weren't just superior warriors. They were superior in every aspect of technology and organization. The prey had become the ultimate predator. "Open a communication channel to the human fleet," he ordered with the weariness of complete defeat. Admiral Chen's face appeared on his screen, her expression showing neither triumph nor hatred, only the calm professionalism of someone completing a necessary task. "Emperor Thraktal, this is Admiral Chen. Are you prepared to discuss terms?" The Emperor's response came slowly, each word carrying the weight of his empire's collapse. "What are your terms, human?" "Complete surrender of all military forces. Disarmament of all weapons of mass destruction. Cooperation with Confederation authorities in establishing a provisional government. Personal surrender of yourself and all military leaders involved in the attack on Earth." "And if we refuse?" Chen's answer was delivered with quiet certainty. "Then we activate the 7 planet-killer devices we positioned around your world before the battle began. Your civilization ends and we build our peace on the ashes of your empire." The Emperor stared at the screen in horror. The humans had brought weapons capable of destroying his entire world, but they were offering mercy to his people. It was a Demonster 5 years after the surrender of the Zalathi Empire. The galaxy had transformed in ways that no species could have predicted. The Galactic Confederation Assembly on Centauri Prime buzzed with activity as representatives from 400 worlds gathered for the most important vote in galactic history. Ambassador Sarah. Chen stood before the assembled delegates, no longer wearing the black mourning uniform of Earth's war years. Instead, she wore the blue and silver dress uniform of the Galactic Peace Corps, a new organization that had emerged from humanity's unique approach to victory. "Distinguished delegates," Chen began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast assembly hall. "Today we vote on Resolution 2847, the establishment of the Protected Worlds Protocol. This measure will ensure that what happened to Earth can never happen to any member species again." The resolution was simple in concept, but revolutionary in practice. Any unprovoked attack on a member species' homeworld would trigger an immediate response from human fleets stationed throughout Confederation space. Earth's children had become the galaxy's guardians, not through conquest but through the moral authority earned by their restraint and victory. Admiral Torres, now commander of the Human Defense Corps, watched the proceedings from the observation deck. Around her, officers from dozens of species wore the same uniform, united under human leadership not through force but through respect earned in battle. "Admiral, do you think the vote will pass?" asked Commander Vexic, a former Zalathi officer who had joined the human fleet after witnessing their honor during the war. Torres smiled at the irony of taking advice from a former enemy. "The vote is just a formality, Commander. Every species in this assembly has seen what we did to the Zalathi when they attacked our home. More importantly, they've seen what we didn't do to them afterward." The former Zalathi commander nodded thoughtfully. His homeworld now prospered under Confederation guidance, its people learning new ways of living that didn't require conquest and domination. The humans had proven that victory didn't require the destruction of one's enemies. On Earth, President Morrison watched the vote from her office in the rebuilt city of New Geneva. The old capitals were gone, but from their ashes had risen something greater, a world united not by tragedy but by the strength found in overcoming it. The memorial walls still stood in the crater that had once been London. But now they served a different purpose. Visitors from across the galaxy came to read the names of the 7 million humans who had died in the Zalathi attack. More importantly, they read the message engraved below those names. They died so the galaxy might learn that peace is precious, but not fragile when defended by those who understand its true value. Dr. Elena Vasquez, now Director of Galactic Research Initiatives, supervised the transformation of humanity's war machine into instruments of exploration and defense. The same shipyards that had produced vessels of destruction now built exploration ships, medical vessels, and mobile research platforms. "Status report on the Andromeda expedition," she requested from her assistant. "The exploration fleet is ahead of schedule," came the reply. "They've discovered 17 new habitable worlds and made contact with 3 previously unknown species. All contacts have been peaceful." Vasquez nodded with satisfaction. Human expansion beyond the Milky Way had been driven by curiosity rather than conquest. Earth's children carried their message of strength tempered by wisdom to new galaxies, showing that growth didn't require the domination of others. In the rebuilt Zalathi territories, former Emperor Thractal worked as a civilian administrator under Confederation oversight. His empire was gone, but his people were prospering in ways they had never imagined during the centuries of conquest. "The agricultural yields are up 20% this quarter," reported his assistant, a young Zalathi who had been educated in human schools. "The new farming techniques are remarkably efficient." Thractal reviewed the reports with amazement. His people were producing more food, living longer lives, and achieving scientific advances that had been impossible under the old military system. The humans had given them something his empire never could: hope for a future built on creation rather than destruction. The vote in the Confederation Assembly was unanimous. Resolution 2847 passed without a single dissenting voice, establishing the Protected Worlds Protocol that would reshape galactic civilization. Under the new law, humanity's fleets would patrol space lanes and monitor communications for signs of aggressive expansion. But the most important change wasn't written in any law or treaty. It was the transformation of galactic culture itself. Species that had once settled disputes through warfare now sought human mediation. The same beings who had built planet-killing weapons had proven they could choose diplomacy over destruction. Admiral Chen addressed the assembly after the vote. Her words carried to every world in Confederation space. "The Protected Worlds Protocol isn't about human dominance," she explained to the gathered delegates. "It's about ensuring that every species, no matter how small or peaceful, can develop without fear of extinction. We've learned that strength without wisdom is meaningless, but wisdom without strength is helpless." Her words echoed across the galaxy, broadcast to species that had once lived in fear of stronger neighbors. The Theknari Republic, which had hidden in their home system for centuries to avoid Zalathi expansion, now sent exploration ships to distant stars. The Corvani Assembly, whose pacifist philosophy had made them vulnerable to raiders, now traded freely throughout the galaxy under human protection. On Mars, Dr. Webb supervised the decommissioning of the last planet-killer weapon. The terrible devices that could sterilize worlds were being converted into terraforming tools, their destructive power transformed into instruments of creation. "Doctor, are you certain about this?" asked his assistant as the weapon's deadly components were removed. "These devices were our ultimate guarantee of security." Webb smiled as he watched the conversion process. "Our security doesn't come from our ability to destroy worlds. It comes from our willingness to protect them. That's the lesson we taught the galaxy, and it's the lesson we must never forget ourselves." The transformation wasn't limited to military affairs. Human universities had become centers of galactic learning, their research programs attracting students from hundreds of worlds. The same innovative spirit that had produced devastating weapons now focused on medicine, exploration, and the peaceful advancement of civilization. Professor Kim, now head of the Galactic Studies Institute at Cambridge 7, welcomed her newest class of students. The classroom held beings from 30 different species, all united by their desire to understand the principles that had made human civilization so resilient. "Today we'll discuss the concept of strength through diversity," she announced to her students. "How does a species become stronger by protecting the weak rather than conquering them?" The question would have been meaningless before the HFY War. Now it was the foundation of galactic civilization, a principle that guided everything from trade agreements to exploration missions. In the former HFY capital, now renamed Hope's Landing, children played in parks that had once been military training grounds. Human engineers had transformed weapons factories into schools and hospitals. The planet that had once been the center of a conquering empire was now a symbol of redemption and renewal. Ambassador Rixtel, the former HFY intelligence officer, who now served as his species representative to the Confederation, often walked through these parks with wonder. His people had gained more in 5 years of peace than they had in centuries of conquest. "My children ask me about the old empire," he confided to his human colleague during one of their regular meetings. "I tell them it was a time when we measured strength by how much we could destroy. Now we measure it by how much we can protect and build." The human's response reflected the wisdom his species had gained through struggle. The strongest civilizations are those that make their enemies want to become their friends. As the 10th anniversary of the attack on Earth approached, humanity prepared for a different kind of remembrance. The memorial services would honor the 7 million dead, but they would also celebrate the birth of a new galactic order built on their sacrifice. President Morrison stood once again before the rebuilt memorial in London's crater, but this time she was surrounded by representatives from every species in the Confederation. The names of the dead were read aloud in hundreds of languages, their sacrifice remembered not just by humans but by the entire galaxy. "They died as victims of unprovoked aggression," Morrison announced to the assembled crowd, "but their deaths gave birth to something greater, a galaxy where such aggression can never succeed again." The ceremony concluded with the dedication of a new addition to the memorial, a list of every world that had been protected under the new protocols, every species that now lived free from the fear of extinction. The dead of Earth had become the guardians of galactic peace, their memory ensuring that no other world would suffer as Earth had suffered. Admiral Chen, now in her 70s but still sharp as the day she had accepted the HFY surrender,